Against the Indianapolis Colts, this courtesy of Teron Davenport. No sign of offensive lineman Nate Davis, who did not practice yesterday, as well as fullback Torrey Carter, linebackers Joe Jones and Zach Cunningham. Also no sign of Ben Jones today at Titans practice, according to TD. Colts head coach Frank Reich already spoke with the media. He did rule out linebacker Shaq Leonard for Sunday's matchup. Running back Jonathan Taylor is expected to play. Titans head coach Mike Vrabel will let us know who will be out on Sunday here in just a few minutes. Blockbuster trade in the NFL that broke on Thursday night. The Carolina Panthers sending running back Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for several draft picks, a second, third, and fourth rounder in 2023, plus a 2024 fifth-round pick. McCaffrey might make his 49ers debut Sunday when they host the Chiefs. Titans, of course, kicking off at noon. Hear the Titans radio call right here on 104.5 The Zone. Number 3, Tennessee, 6-0, hosting UT Martin for their homecoming tomorrow. An 11 a.m. kick. Catch the Vol Network call here on The Zone. And the 104.5 The Zone high school football game of the week is at CPA. The Lions hosting Lipscomb Academy. Pre-game coverage at 6:45 for a 7 p.m. kickoff. And Friday night finals taking you home until 11. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at 1. On your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Let's do this. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Got my headset, my cord was all tied around my foot here. What a start for Friday. I'm a complete mess.
We're both injured now. I just hit my knee on this the remote where I'm plugged in at, man. Oh, man,
What a start to the show
That
here.
was painful. I don't know if I'm be able to play on Sunday. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the Titans radio there, the pregame and post. Oh, not the postgame anymore, just the pregame. Hey, let alone the uniform policy. They still got me there. They haven't fired me yet, so. Yeah, I'm still good.
You got your glasses on. Do you wear your glasses when you do the uniform policy? By the way, if you're like uniform policy, Blaine is the NFL dispatches former players, and they make sure guys' uniforms are compliant with all the rules.
Well, we're not all former players, but there are a lot of former players there doing it. It was funny because I saw Runyon, who was over all of that. Naturally, that was my connection there. He gave me a call, and they were short somebody, and I said, "Hey, man, I can do it, or I could try to do it." After the post game, I didn't know if I could really do it. So I just got to make sure I'm in uniform. Got to make sure I'm in uniform out there. So I've had a couple hiccups with my uniform.
But you got to report yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, man. So we're out there checking out and make sure everybody. I'm the visiting team, which is the Titans. They have someone else that does the visiting team. I mean, I'm the home team with the Titans. So it's pretty easy for the Titans because Vrabel and his team is always really buttoned up most of the time. Usually I get a couple warnings in pregame, and I ask them. They say, I think I'm going to wear it like this. Then I kind of write them up. And then you get all the way to the halftime, I get to write them up again. Ooh. And if they don't correct it then they do get fined. And it's just a FedEx letter in the locker, as everybody knows. I can't recall me getting fined but one time.
You weren't about to give away any money for like having a towel in the wrong place or the wrong colored socks, were you?
But in warm-ups, I did like to have my jersey up above my shoulder pads, and I would have my socks pulled down, whatever form that is. And, when they used to come by, he's like, no, I'm going to pull up. I'm going to be ready to go. Hey, this is just for warm-ups. So then they check you before you come out onto the field for the start of the game again. And then I'm all ready to go, rock and roll. So the Titans do a fairly good job of that, even if you're new to the team. They do a really good job because I feel bad because a lot of times I hadn't even wrote anybody up. So it's just like, dang, they're going to think I'm doing my job. I mean, but they go back and watch all the film too. But it's just like, dang, Titans do a pretty good job. Make sure they're following the rules and make sure they do what they're supposed to do in that regard. So, So this is Titan Alumni Weekend.
Titan and Oiler.
Yeah, Titan and Oiler.
Everybody's going to be here, man. That's exciting. I'm just going to be on the lookout for Billy White Shoes Johnson as always. Since I stalk him.
I just saw Robert Brazil. Yeah, we were just.
That's a bad dude right there.
Yeah, look. I'm about to tell all the info. All the Titans that are coming in to visit are staying.
Oh, come on now.
Are staying.
That's at Lucas's house.
No, at the W Hotel. Go check them out. and see who you can see. So all you friends and family and Titans fans, that's where they'll be. In and out of there, of course. But so yeah, they start passing out all the gear for the alumni, and so that's where I run into them. Scott Sanderson, Chris Sanders, just to name a few guys.
You got some swag, man.
Yeah, so
I was hoping they'd given you mediums by mistake. I was going to take it off your hands.
No, the first thing they said, well, good Lord Almighty, Blaine, did you play wide receiver?
He's too skinny, man. Hitman's dropped about a quarter of 100 there.
No, I'm trying to. I'm getting to the point now. I got to make sure that I'm back to my normal person size, not football mode size. In the different forms of that, by the way. Some was a lot more muscle than here later. So, just me and my wife kind of making a point, just kind of make sure we eat right. That's really it. I mean, I'm doing the same workout, kind of changing up a little bit here or there, but that's really it. And to stop the snacking after 8 for me is the chocolate chip cookies, brownies, honey buns,
that's staple diet stuff.
Oh, man, I love that stuff. That's comfort food there for me, man. So cut that out, man, over the last couple months, and man, whoop, just all of my my wife is mad because mine comes off a lot easier. I said, when I make my mind up to something, I get it done.
I ate some lettuce today. I thought about you.
You ate some lettuce?
Yeah, I did. I ate a whole plate full of noodles.
So you're an elephant, right?
Yes. I ate a whole plate full of noodles, and I was like, I'm still hungry. I'll tell you what, my second course is going to be lettuce. So I had some lettuce.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man. I'm just like you.
Oh, man.
I also ate a handful of M&Ms and a Pop-Tart, some other stuff.
Oh.
This is from George Brimmer, who we had on yesterday. Quiddy Pay, JoJo Doman, Kiki Kuti, and Shaq Leonard will not play Sunday for the Colts. All of those guys have been ruled out. Okay. Lucas, do we have yet the Mike Vrabel roundtable saying who's not going to play? Do we have that yet? By the way, welcome back, Lucas.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Well, first of all,
he is not tan after a week at the beach.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
I knew you were going to say
You went to Puerto Rico, right?
You don't think I'm tan?
No, you're as white as, well, you're not as white as I am. I'm clear. I'm actually
but you
a
look
white
exactly
white
how
person.
when you left.
But yes, you look just like the same as when you left.
I thought you were going to come back a little shade like me.
I
thought you got to have a little bit.
I thought I got some good color there, man. I thought I got some good color.
Are
in
you
Puerto
kidding?
Rico, man?
Oh,
I mean,
man,
you're.
I got some.
I don't know, man. You're like a piece of paper that's been left out for a while, or like the newspaper after it's 2 weeks old. That's about as far as you've moved off.
Maybe it faded pretty quickly because after the first day, I definitely had gotten some color. We have not gotten the update from Mike Vrabel, by the way. Robert's holding a piece of paper next to my face for contrast. We have not heard from Mike Vrabel on who is out on Sunday. That should happen any minute now. But no, I had a great time. Great to come back to a new studio. This place is stunning.
We just needed you to leave for good things to happen.
I can't eat in here, but that's okay.
Blaine gave you a sack of food, and you're just staring.
I'm just looking at it. I'm just looking at it longingly until I can sprint to the break room during a commercial break.
Yeah, but Bert won't want to tell if you share with them. See, that's how you get over that.
Seriously,
nobody knows. I mean,
you and Bert pinky shake with each other.
Nobody knows.
We do have control over whether or not I'm on camera, so we could do that. But no, I will respect the rules. This place is too nice for me to mess it up by eating whatever Blaine brought me from the Titans alumni lunch.
Yeah. I had to take care of him. I knew he was starving. A young guy like that eats all the time. You know what they should have? They should have a little desk back there behind you, like just a little, like one for the wall, where y'all can just keep things over there. That way it's not, where your computer is, and you can't spill anything or eat anything or drop anything. And you can just roll back to it, get you a sip of drink.
Take a bite.
And take a bite, and then come on back. Yeah.
We should. Do we have a box in here, Robert, that we could submit these type of things? Oh, Post-it notes. Okay, perfect.
We have a suggestion box. Just for the however few of us that actually spend time in the studio every day. This is from Teron Davenport. Practice update for Friday ahead of Sunday versus Colts. Lucas, you missed this yesterday. We had scary stats and we had sad stats. We did some of both of those, and we had accompanying music. This may be some scary and sad music if there's a combination from TD. No sign of Ben Jones, who's been practicing this week. No sign of Nate Davis, who has
been limited,
had some issues this week. Torrey Carter, Joe Jones, Zach Cunningham, which Joe Jones and Zach Cunningham have not practiced this week. Torrey Carter and Nate Davis, I think, have been limited at times and whatnot. But
Nate Davis and Ben Jones. Maybe Ben Jones already had his schedule to miss because he was at practice all week.
Surely he had a kid's birthday party or something.
I'm going to assume that, but I hope I'm right on that one. Because my only question today when we have Buck on is, later at 2:20 is, what's up with Nate Davis? Because we got to get that old line fixed, man. We had 2 weeks here. Tannehill going to be coming out of the game limping, not walking. Yeah,
Nate Davis was limited yesterday.
Yeah.
Torrey Carter, Zach Cunningham, Joe Jones all did not practice yesterday. That was the official practice report. Looks like Bud Dupree and Amani Hooker coming back. Surely Ben Jones just had some business to attend to or something. How taxing is a Friday practice? Like if you're a veteran and you miss on Friday, what are you missing? Or if you're anybody, what are you missing?
Well, I mean, a guy like him, he's been in this league a long time. So, I mean, in theory, it really is not going to be a lot for him.
Yeah.
But in general, you kind of reviewing everything that you've practiced to a certain extent, not every single play, but it highlights of different things that they like to do and you like to do against it. And you're doing the red zone. Which is, very vital in this game. And the Titans are one of the best, if not the best, in the red zone. So it's one of those days that I never like missing, but it's a half a day. So let's start there. So you kind of go out on the field earlier, and then you kind of, it's not a half, as far as speed, but you're not going full speed during the season. But it kind of reviews in the 7-on-7 to team. You're highlighting all the plays you want to run in the game and what they do against you. And then the red zone is really highlight. That's the red zone and review day. But I would say that. So, man, I just don't. Just all of a sudden, because just the history here, I get paranoid about guys who are going to play and not play. I mean, now we're talking about 2 more offensive linemen maybe not playing.
Here you go. Ruled out for the Titans game on Sunday.
Oh, you set me up.
Per Jimmy White. No, it just 40 seconds ago on my Twitter. Torrey Carter, Joe Jones, Zach Cunningham, Nate Davis.
Oh, so Ben Jones is missing for.
So Ben Jones.
So that means ratings
little kid's birthday
again.
Party or something.
Ratings is up.
Dylan Radin's part 2. He started, one game at left tackle in his career, 1 game at right guard. So this would lead me to believe, right, he's about to start 2 games in a row at the same position.
And now what I can say, he was okay. And that was an elite D line, especially, they had some good D. Those guys from Alabama, those guys can play. They started in this league. They went high in the draft. And I'm not going to say he did great because he did not. I'm not going to say he did horrible because he did not. He was, he had some good moments and he had some okay bad moments. So, okay, let's see what we can work with this and see if we go against another good D-line and see how he fares against him. See if he improves it. The Colts D-line is good, too. They're not as good to me as the Commanders, but they are up there. Their front four is no joke, especially Preston Buckner, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they got a couple of big hosses up there. Titans are going to be doing it again with a patchwork offensive line. No Nate Davis. He has been ruled out this week. So Dylan Radin's part 2. We'll see how it all goes. All right, so we're going to see how this goes next. We haven't had a guest. We've been in the studio for a week. About to have our first guest. JillJelnick, Fox 17, is somewhere, I would think, running around in this building right now. She's
lost. You don't know.
Maybe she's in her car waiting for us to open the door. I don't know, but we'll go get her, and we'll come back next and talk to the one-woman sports department from Fox 17, JillJelnick. Blaine and Mickey 1045 The Zone on a Friday. So, I mean, we've been in the studio now for what? 4 days. We've never had a guest. So,
we were trying to make it look a little sexier. And then who will we bring in?
Me, of course.
Lucas did come back today. No, we have
Tan Lucas.
yours truly, JillJelnick from Fox Sports and everything here in Nashville. So appreciate her coming on and being our first guest in the new studio. You will be in the lore forever.
My goodness,
now.
what an honor.
Yeah.
What a way to kick off the weekend, too.
It's pretty cool.
This is almost as nice as the Fox 17 facilities.
Oh, well,
I've worked some there. I know what kind of opulence you guys live in over there.
Yeah,
so.
Mickey he's pretty good at a lot of different things. So
when it's not chaotic and I'm not like sprinting from studio to office and vice versa, then it's a pretty cool place.
At least you don't have to carry the armload of tapes that I used to when I was a television anchor. Did you work in the armload of tape, Sarah?
I am post tape era,
tapes?
yes.
Okay.
But I will say this: when I had to dig through some tapes yesterday for some Eddie George and Earl Campbell on my little piece with Derrick Henry, had to go back in the archives, some good footage. Yeah, so I touched some tapes yesterday.
Okay, well, it's nice to know you kids are still working with tapes.
I want to ask some based off of that right there. Eddie George, Earl Campbell, Derrick Henry, and CJ2K. Who you going with, Jill?
You can only have one.
You can only have one. And it's all about preference of
We're starting
style.
with the hard questions.
That just came to me while she said that because I did a podcast. Somebody asked me McNair or Warren Moon. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
You know what?
Well, you just did that to her.
I want to see how she answered this. I want to see if I had a good answer.
How about this, Blaine?
I analyzed it.
I'm not even going to try to compare the talent.
You said you watched the tapes.
I watched the tapes. Yes, I did. But instead of me maybe comparing the talent of these phenomenal athletes, I'm going to go with CJ just because my pirate, my ECU
she had a home run
pirate.
hitter right there.
That's the right answer, right? Come on, go Pirates.
Your fellow ECU pirate. That's right.
Absolutely.
Being that you were a great player there.
Go
yourself.
Pirates.
That was an easy one. See, I can't
Set me
say
up for that.
about
And this
Ball
is
State,
what you were like, all academic, all conference. I mean, we looked this up once when you were on before. So softball player extraordinaire from ECU.
You say I'm a nerd? Yes, I was. Yeah.
You're student athlete. That's what that means.
Student first. That's right.
Epitomize what a student athlete is right there. Well, I guess talk first. I guess a little bit about what you do on Friday, right? The football frenzy deal you do live.
Oh my gosh, Fridays special. I mean, this time of the year is always special. We got college football.
It's everything
obviously
season.
Titans. It's everything season,
the
right?
Most wonderful time of the year.
Most wonderful time. Also, the most hectic time on my end. I'm going to say that.
Man, how hard is that too? By the way, in your answer,
it's it's tough. It's about pacing, just like an athlete. It's like a season for me. So mentally, I literally train, get ready for it, get all my X's and O's, notes, everything together, get organized, credentials, all that stuff. And then when you're in it, it's literally about making it to the end of the week. So obviously this week at the end of Sunday night, when I'm done with my sports show at 10:30, I it takes everything out of me not to collapse on the studio floor because I'm just done. I'm so done. But it's about pacing, and Fridays are special because of our high school football show. Football Frenzy Live. Fox 17 has the only 30-minute high school football show in Nashville, and let me tell you, it is frenzy. It's called Football Frenzy Live, and it is just a pure frenzy from 9:30 to 10. And we have some amazing games this week because there's 2 weeks left of the regular season tonight, and then next Friday, and then it's postseason.
Wow.
So half of the teams in our show tonight, we have 12 different games that we're going to bring you highlights tonight, and about half of those games will decide the region title winner. So we got a lot of teams playing for first place. NBA taking on Baylor from Chattanooga.
Yeah, I just saw Chris Sanders. He was telling me. He ran up out of there.
He's got it. Yeah, you want to talk about a frenzy. Yeah. Chris Sanders night is a frenzy. That's going to determine the top team, Division II AAA. So that's our game of the week. Also got some really great games. Let's see. Region. This will decide a big standing. Green Hill at Station Camp. That's a good one. Also, Riverdale, East Nashville. That's not a region matchup, but East Nashville is having a heck of a year, and they are taking down anyone that comes their way, whether they're in the same classification or not. So some great games. All starts at 9:30. Join us for the frenzy.
Oh, man. How many games do you have to shoot?
I shoot Thursday nights.
Okay.
So I'll shoot my 1-2 games on Thursday night, and then Friday, it's all about producing and just kind of waiting for games to come in from my team and putting them together. And then usually it's a dead sprint from my office. At 9:27, I'm like, oh no, that's usually when I forget what time it is, sprint out to the studio, and it's go, go, go. And the tough part is a lot of these games are not final. So I'm showing you highlights, giving you the update of where the game is, and then about 15, 20 minutes in our show, we'll say, oh, by the way, NBA, Baylor just went final, blah, 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 blah. So it keeps me on my toes, that's for sure. Yeah, you want to work out, try to do the frenzy with me.
For people who've never done TV, it's hard because I've done it, especially at 2 smaller stations and then a lot of freelance here. But to do a 30-minute Friday night, it's a lot of smaller stations still do that, but in bigger cities, people have kind of moved away from it. They devote less time to sports and more time to lifestyles and weather and other things that they feel like people are interested in. But the amount of work that goes into a 30-minute show, because I've tried to explain this to people, every commercial break down to every second has to be accounted for that entire 30 minutes. And you don't know what's going to happen when you start the day.
No.
Like you don't know which game's going to be good or which game's only going to have 1 touchdown. So how many highlights you run from a game of, well, here's a nice tackle in the first quarter. There are so many things that go into it and so many moving parts. So that's cool that you guys still do it. But I know if you're like me, when I had to do that, I worried about it all week long before I had to even try to put it all together.
Correct. It's like a game. You do as much prep work as you can, but as soon as the lights come on and it's showtime, you just got to react. You got to hope that you've trained and you're ready to go, and then you got to roll with the punches.
You got to live for it then, right?
You got to live for it. That's that adrenaline rush.
Oh, so that's just like game time when she was out there smashing those home runs there at ECU, right?
Except my second half is usually a little better than the Titans' second half. So just saying. Whoa.
Okay. We're going to stay on the positive. Since we're talking about frenzy, what about that frenzy of UT beating Alabama? What was that like?
God.
Whoa.
You know what?
Were you there?
No, I was not covering that game. I had FOMO of not covering that game up until the end. Because when everybody ran on that field and the goalposts started to come down, my first thought was, those poor media members.
Not the referees, the coaches,
Nobody
or the players.
thinks about the media
It was about the media.
Because those reporters, they're on a sharp deadline that's not moving.
They have to run on the field and get the coaches and interviews.
Well, and if they're waiting for a hypo press conference, he didn't get there till late. He even apologized because he took forever. Yep. So there goes your deadline. There goes any on-field availability for like stand-ups. I went into reporter mode and I was like, oh my goodness, bless their hearts.
Oh, wow, man.
Do you think Tennessee has a shot at the college football playoff? Could we dare maybe even – I don't think it's possible because I think there'd be too much of a ruckus. But people are raising the possibility. Could there be 3 SEC teams in one 14 playoff?
That's so funny you say that. I've been trying to rattle my brain about the possibility of 4 SEC teams in the playoffs.
The world would riot.
Right? It would.
You're the first I've heard that.
It
Big
would.
Ten just out, huh?
Ohio State and Michigan would burn the place to the ground.
Ohio State, Michigan would burn the place to the ground. They would need to kind of knock themselves out. I think as competitive as Big 12 is too, I think they're going to end up knocking themselves out and just kind of canceling them. Is it possible? Yes. I definitely think 3 SEC teams is the direction right now that we're headed. I think the first college football playoff rankings come out next week or maybe a week after. They're coming out soon. That will give us a better idea because those are different than the AP poll. So that will give us a good idea. But to answer your first question, Mickey, absolutely Tennessee. I mean, yes, obviously the huge win over Alabama, but they look like a complete team. If they can stay, they didn't even have their top wide receiver.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, think about that. I think they look like a complete team, and I really believe that Josh Heupel was not going to let this team stay too high. He's been around the block for too long, been around some good teams, and also has been around some tough teams and knows the SEC well enough to know you cannot ride any sort of high for very long. Maybe over UT Martin, but that's about it.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, because hopefully some guys get out of there at halftime. You unscathed.
That's a good schedule.
Yes.
Nothing against UT Martin, but that's just
absolutely
the way it is.
not.
And, with the talent that they have, I guess adding to that, I just live not even just Saban losing, because that doesn't really matter to me. Him blowing a gasket on the sideline. I
gosh.
talked about it all week, how I just wanted to see him lose it. And when that guy tried to pick up that ball on kickoff return or whatever it was, and he was like, "Why did you do that?" Put on like a tantrum, and jump him down. Meanwhile, the guy's walking right to him, and he's walking away, but he knows he is talking to him. Like, "Why did you do that?" And his hair goes all over the place.
He reminded me of a dad whose son just like broke curfew, messed up. He comes home at night and he's just been waiting for him and just loses it. That was one of the many entertaining parts of that game.
Well, I want to ask one more thing, and I'll let Mickey take over. And that is, what are your thoughts on players, and maybe let's start with the coaches, because what made me think of this, the referees are running off the field just like you're talking about the media. And I go, maybe the head coaches shouldn't shake there just because of all the noise and ruckus that's going on. What are your thoughts on should they or shouldn't they, instead of trying to fight through with 3 police officers protecting them and then going on the handshake? You can kind of give the guy the wave before the game is over with and then head on back and try to make sure you get your players unscathed, as there was an incident there from the Alabama player. That way they stay behind the line and they should rope it off, and you knew it was going to happen, and make sure something crazy just can't happen on either side of that.
Right. My answer would be, I look at Tennessee, Alabama, and the celebration as an exception.
Right.
Right.
No, so I want them to celebrate.
But those games and the fans running on the field and taking down the goalposts and that rank, the high intensity and all the hype going in that matchup, you don't have that every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And so do we change the protocol with the handshakes? I don't think so. Do you stiffen up security? Do you double the guards? I know they have the Rangers that are with their coaches, double those. I'd love to talk to somebody from the security aspect of UT in terms of what were the conversations before the game. Hey, if we win, the fans are coming down the field. Yeah. Do you even try to stop them? No, I don't think anybody tried to stop.
You
right?
You don't. You let them enjoy that time.
You let it
You're not going to stop them anyway.
Right. So then, what could you learn from that? Maybe you double the security in terms of maybe making sure there's no injuries, making sure maybe you funnel them to a certain area.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, there are ways to help that, but do you change the handshake after the game? No, unless you know ahead of time it is a heated rivalry and you have everything says, hey, there might be some bad blood after this game. To quote my girl T Swift, who just dropped an incredible album last night at midnight.
Did you stay up at midnight and listen to the new record?
Oh my gosh.
11 p.m. actually, Central Time.
Oh, it dropped at Eastern Time.
It did,
okay.
yes. So because of that, yes. If it was midnight, I would be like, girl, Taylor, you're pushing it, girl. Can't why you name your album Midnight? Can't it be like Sunset? Meet me at sunset. I would love that. Wouldn't that be nice? Then I could go to bed.
There were a lot of stories about her
today.
that she would go to the Target on White Bridge Road and buy her album in years past when it came out.
Stop it.
That people would see her. She would go in and buy a hard copy CD of her album again, if she's listening, she could defuse that or not.
Yeah.
But I've had multiple people tell me who live in that area, like, every year when her album drops, she goes to Target and buys one.
Yeah, I believe that's a Taylor move. That's a Taylor move.
So JillJelnick has been here a little over a year with Fox 17, and I was thinking, like, okay, we can ask you about everything because you cover all the sports. But then I started thinking, like, since you've been here, for all the Vols fans listening, the Vols got good again. Also, since you've been here, the Titans just decided to build a $2 billion stadium. So all of that continued to kind of break out this week. But I was going to ask you, because we've talked a lot about the stadium, and people want to talk about money and public transit and all these things that I understand. But Blaine has been asking the question, what's it going to look like? What do you think a Titans stadium should look like? Maybe a giant Grand Ole Opry, or a Coliseum, or like the Roman, the Titan gods would be like. What should it look like?
I love that Roman idea, playing on the
Pillars,
Titans.
Yes,
I think this is a great idea for them, a great opportunity for them to get creative. Because the new stadiums that have been rolling out have been basically mini Jerry's Worlds ever since AT&T Stadium got built several years ago. Whatever, Mercedes-Benz Stadium looks similar, Viking Stadium, and a glass on one side, dome-like area. I think obviously when you're pumping all this money in, it needs to be state of the art. It needs to have all the great updated features. Dome, yes, because that's increases your chances of hosting different events, more than just football games and Super Bowl, but we're talking Final Four, we're talking other big college football championships. So I think it would be a great opportunity for them to do something completely different. I love the pillars, some type of Roman theme. Have some fun with it. Nissan Stadium, I think obviously it's old, but it is unique in the sense that it's got the big red kind of lights coming up. It's a little different. I think it would be a great opportunity for them to maybe pay homage to Nashville, also Broadway, maybe a little bit of a country twist. I don't know, work in a guitar center somewhere in the side. I
You
don't
can
know.
leave the game with a guitar.
Yeah. How about that?
I do like that. I like guitars everywhere. Jill Jelnick, our guest from Fox 17.
Well, we're talking about the stadium, so that means we have to talk about the Titans and the Colts. What do you see what's happening here? Well, first I got to ask you this question. I talked about the running backs and comparing them. You scapegoated out of that one. Talking about you going with ECU.
Oh, yeah. I had a great answer.
That was great.
You handled that
will
like
the
a pro.
king become the king of the mantle with 2 TDs to pass, not tie?
Ooh, is this the game?
Is this the game against the Colts to have the most touchdowns by a Titan Oiler in their history, right?
Wow.
Great question. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. It's happening Sunday. Derrick Henry had a great game against the Colts. I think actually his best statistical game, 114 and a touchdown. I see the Colts making improvements, but I don't see the Colts rush defense handling him for 4 quarters. You know what I'm eager to see? I'm eager to see that Derrick Henry the second half, right? Because last year he started having a trend of when he started to pick up steam in the second half, he didn't look tired while defenses were tired covering him. He looked like he was getting stronger and faster. We haven't quite seen that, mostly because Titans offense in general has struggled the second half, putting up points, especially compared to that first. So I do think this is the game. Colts, one of my favorite stats I heard this morning, Colts have scored 10 points in their first quarters of all their games. Just 10 points. First quarter alone. They've had slow starts, a little over 20 points in the first half, but in the first quarter alone, they've managed a field goal and 1 touchdown. I think actually in their game against the Chiefs. Other than that, they've been held scoreless in the first quarter. Titans, on the other hand, we know they've been getting out to these great, strong starts. I think that's where Derrick Henry comes in, gets his first touchdown out of the way, ties Eddie George, and then second half, I really think as much focus and emphasis as this team has put on the second, really changing the script the second half, turning that tide, I think Titans come out with a strong second half and hopefully lock down on their secondary. Because if the Titans can avoid giving up those X plays and those big plays to Matt Ryan,
explosive plays,
those X plays, that's been their Achilles heel for really the all 5 games, but especially the last 2 games. Gave up 3 passes of 30 yards or more to the Colts in the last time they played 3 weeks ago. So a lot of factors. I think I'm going to say Derrick Henry touchdown in the first half, Derrick Henry touchdown in the second half.
To break the record on Oiler Titan Alumni Weekend. That would be
in front of everybody.
Wouldn't
that be great?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, one more question for me, and that is, I know we're not halfway through, but who's kind of been the offense and defensive kind of, I'm MVPs, let's just say that then. Who's been the most important piece on both sides of the ball?
Excluding Derrick Henry, if you want to take out.
No, he's in it.
Yeah. Offensively, even though he did have a little bit of a slow start, it's got to be Derrick Henry because once they get him going, opens up the passing game, and they've been utilizing him more in the passing game, which only opens up more of that playbook. So that has been huge for getting that offense going. And then defensively, oh man, we've had some injuries. KB has been solid, just even though that secondary has struggled. Even without him, I can't even imagine how much that secondary would struggle. But I think that D-line has done an excellent job stepping up without Harold Landry. And it's funny, you forget that Harold Landry was a huge piece of that because he obviously is out for the season with his injury. But the fact that the D-line has held it down as much as they have without him, I think is a great, great sign.
There you have it, JillJelnick from Fox Nashville.
All right, we're up against our break. So one of two things can happen. If you got to go and start prepping for Friday night, go. If you want to stay and do the last segment with
I'm
us.
staying.
Okay,
I'm
all right,
staying.
all right.
Wait, should I ask what the last segment is first?
No, that's
Whatever you want it to
whatever you want. Wild
Whatever
card.
you want to be.
Wild card. I'm in. Count me in.
Well, we do have to talk some Preds. We'll do that
Okay.
and more next. Jill Jelnick from Fox 17. She's going to hang out for another segment, so you should too. We're not down on our luck at Blaine and Mickey. It's Friday, and JillJelnick is hanging out with us in the studio in a dress. She's all dressed up. She's got a 30-minute high school frenzy show coming up tonight, and even then, she stuck around for another segment with us just because. I don't know. Why would you stick around with us?
I don't know, but I can tell you I wore my pink dress for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so shout out to the pink ribbon. Also, I wanted to make sure I was part of the uniform policy. I wasn't quite sure what the policy was in this new studio, so I thought, let me just dress it up a little bit just so Blaine doesn't flag me.
Make sure you got the right socks on and, all that kind of stuff. You got your towel in the right spot on your belt.
I like my money.
Derrick Henry liked your question yesterday at the presser. They're doing the pet adoption thing. I think Chig wore a cat on his shirt, but everybody else has worn a dog. And you got a laugh out of Mr. Derrick Henry yesterday.
Yes, which has been rare this season, a little bit more than last season, and it was. I just thought it was funny because we're throwing all these questions at him, and He's given us his best answers, and, short and sweet is Derrick Henry's mantra, maybe a pass down from the Saban mantra, possibly. But as soon as he was starting to wrap up, one of the Titans, PR Kim, ran in and said, "Oh, Derrick, your pet adoption T-shirt." And it was like night and day. His face lit up so quickly. He's like, "Oh my gosh." He was like, "Oh, guys, let me tell you about Tiny. Now, Tiny here.
His dog was Tiny.
His name was Tiny."
Yeah.
And so Derrick's talking, and he's like giving us this 45-second minute talk about Tiny. And I'm like, this is longer than any of his other answers today. So as he was walking off, all I said was, "Hey, Derrick, you like talking about dogs more than you like answering our questions about football?" He chuckled, and then he said, "Depends on the week."
You got him.
A smile. We got it.
Blaine is our hockey expert on the show, and he is really perplexed about 4 straight losses for the Predators, and they coughed up leads in the last 2 third periods, and they're 1 from 26 on the power play, which Blaine understands the power play better than any of the rest of us. He's got theories about it, but I'm just curious.
Yes.
You've seen this too. My family was sitting watching it over dinner last night and thinking, boy, this. I went to the first game, and they
Home
just
opener.
got
Yeah.
whacked around. And I thought they've traveled so much, and all those emotions of, taking Roman Yossi back home and all the stuff. And then I thought, okay, well, they'll just bounce right back. And then they lost the Stars again. And then it's kind of been downhill from there.
It was a great excuse, wasn't it, for that Thursday game? Oh, they just got back from overseas.
I'd be tired.
Yeah,
Sure.
Of course. Jet lag. Yeah. No excuse. Yeah, well, it was a good excuse for that game, and then, like Mickey said, then they fell to the Stars again on Saturday. Then Tuesday fell apart. Then where are we? Friday. So last night's game against the Blue Jackets, I think so they've lost 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row after their 2-0 start. I think the most concerning part really has actually been these last 2 games when they've led and they've given up leads. Like last night they were winning 3-1. 3-1. They almost had a chance to go 3-0, but one of the goals got called back. And then they collapse in the third period. They let the Blue Jackets offense get into rhythm in the second, but then they collapsed in the third period. So that to me is the most concerning part, is how come you haven't been able to sustain these leads. But what I would tell fans is the same thing I would tell baseball fans. It's a long season. This is early, and this is a team that has some very new parts. Niederreiter has been fantastic for the Preds. I think he's already proven that he's going to be a huge piece to this puzzle. The question is okay, what is the best arrangement for these pieces to this puzzle? That's what the first couple weeks of the season is about. I'm not going to jump on we're concerned about the Preds bandwagon. I'm not doing that yet, mostly because I'm so busy with Titans anyways. But I think they have the pieces, and they're just trying to figure out chemistry, best lines that work for them. I think, I'm not going to say they're going to win the division. The Avs are just too good coming off that championship, but I think the Preds, if they can go through these troubles now, I think second half of the season, we'll see the Preds team that came alive the second half of the season last year and hopefully puts it together, stays healthy, and can compete.
Well, I'm going to add that to that. Do you think the money players are playing up to their paychecks already? I know it's too early, but you set the tone. That's why they got the paycheck.
Absolutely. No, there's no question. When you get the money, it's because you're this player put on this pedestal, so expectations are raised. We all know that with professional athletes, but especially the ones that are the leaders in the team. I hesitate saying no, they're not playing to those expectations yet, just because it's a small sample size. Would I love to see Philip Forsberg step up more? Absolutely. Roman Josi, absolutely. But again, there's a clear breakdown in trying to figure out the identity of this team, which traditionally has been very aggressive, right? Physicality, which wears and tears on the body. But because it's so early on the season, they're just struggling to figure out exactly the team they want to be.
There you go. Blaine has a secret blog. He's probably written 7,000 words about the power play, I know. So he never reveals his identity. So he is.
Check out my blogs there, man, for sure.
Well, but it's all done in secret because he just doesn't want to show up all the other hockey writers in the city with his.
That's fair. That's fair.
He
So
studied
kind.
the game.
So I always have a pen in my hand. Always.
All right, we've got like a minute left. We talked about the Predators having problems in the third period. Can the Titans figure out their offensive woes in the second half? So like a minute left. JillJelnick solved the Titans' offensive second half problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Has to be. And I think it's just by getting more wide receivers and tight ends involved, right? Okay, so if Derrick Henry's starting to build his momentum going in the second half, even though they don't have Traylon Burks, they got to get Robert Woods more involved. They got to get I'm still waiting to see Austin Hooper's breakout game. I think
That's Mickey's guy.
I'm waiting for it.
Thought it would be my guy.
This could be the week. This could be the Sunday for it.
I've said that so many Sundays
I know,
now.
we have.
All of the Sundays we've said that.
But I think really that if you ask me what's the problem or what's the key to getting back in that second half, it's got to be taking some of the spreading the ball around more, not just in Derrick Henry's hands, because when the Colts come out second half, they're obviously going to try, do everything they can to stop Derrick Henry, stop the script that was the first half. Titans got to flip that the second half, and that's when you get more of your wide receiver core involved.
This wide receiver is they capable of that?
They need to be. Right? They need to be.
They need to be.
That's not like coming from a coach right there.
Is this
They need to be. This is
They need to
it.
be.
This is
You're
the
right.
opportunity. This is it.
All right, you need to be watching JillJelnick on Fox 17 tonight because it's Friday Night Football Frenzy at
Woo! 9:30 to 10.
9:30 to 10. So all your smiling faces of your nephews and grandkids and
12
neighbors.
games. 12 games.
12 rocking games tonight on Fox 17. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Jill,
Hey,
as
beautiful
always.
studio.
Thank you.
Beautiful
Thank you.
studio.
Thank you. JillJelnick, our first guest. We'll never forget who was our first guest on the show. All right, we'll never forget all of you because we got a whole nother hour to spend with you. When we come back, a blockbuster trade in the NFL. We'll tell you who and we'll tell you the details. And should the Titans do something like that, you can jump in on the discussion. 615-737-1045. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Woo, that's right. Happy Friday to you. Appreciate JillJelnick for hanging out for most of the first hour of the show from Fox 17. Then she was like, here's what else I've got to do today. And I was amazed at all the things that she's got on tap.
Tired.
I got tired too. Just thinking about it. So let's give you this. Who is not playing? We got this off the top of the show today. Let me get back to my Twitter here. And I can tell you who has been ruled out because we have some from Indy and some from the Titans. This is via Jim Wyatt's Twitter. The Titans have ruled out Zach Cunningham, Joe Jones, Torrey Carter, and they have ruled out guard Nate Davis for another week. So Dylan Radin's era continues. He's had some time to practice. I mean, that's good
and guess
for him.
what it helps them do, though?
Yep.
Are we going to keep Dylan Radis and let him be the starter next year, or is Nate Davis a priority in free agency? Ooh,
he is a free agent.
Yeah. See how that works? Yeah.
His agent's like, hey, man, you got to get back in there. It's free agent year. We got to see what you can do.
Yeah, well, he was playing pretty solid.
Yeah.
He's an athletic, big guy. So, so I'm excited also to see Dylan Radis, see if he can come back and improve against another really good D-line and see how he'll perform. See if he can get better. 'Cause I think that's what they're looking for. You don't expect him to be great right off the bat or really good. I think it's a new position, so he has to get comfortable and see if he can continue to improve, and that'll put him where he needs to be, and he'll be their guard, whether it's there or on the other side next season. Yeah.
Kwity Paye and Shaq Leonard among the guys who are ruled out for the Colts. Kwity Paye is a nice young pass rusher, and then Shaq Leonard is Shaq Leonard. He got beat up pretty good. He was beat up, then he came back and he broke his nose in the Titans game, and still kind of.
Well, somebody ducked, and then his own teammate hit him and fractured his nose. Then and then he got I think a concussion as well, and then he was already coming back from a back injury. So I just wish him to get well, and I'm glad he's not playing. He's a real good player.
Yeah. Wish he'll get well next week.
Yeah, get well next week, man. So with not knowing who's going to play, with what's going on with Ben Jones, I don't want any of their really good players on defense to play. I want us to have some success on offense, running the football, but also throwing the football. So I'm interested to see what's the game plan for the Titans, because after they kind of evaluated their team, they know where they need more production in certain areas, and not necessarily players, but just, okay, we need to throw the ball down the field more. So let's say that's one of them. And what's our plan of attack to make that happen? We have to scheme some things up. Some things you just can't scheme up. You just got to say, you be that dude. It's just sometimes it's just got to be that way in the National Football League. And I just don't know if they have those kind of dudes when they need a big play and when it's needing a game to kind of squash momentum of the other team. So if I was playing them, there's nobody in the wide receiving game that scares me at all, besides Henry, and he's not a pass catcher, at least as far as down the field, deep. So now that's not to say any of those guys can, periodically beat you deep, which we saw NWI last week. But just in general, if somebody just got that kind of ability and can run away from people, I don't see it. So hopefully the secondary gets better and left tackle. I think those are the things, if during the time off of that bye week, those are the things I assess that I say, okay, how can we get better? Now, you can't change the players you have at this point in time. That's going to be better unless you do a trade. And if you're just a good player, then, why are they trading him? Maybe he's better than what you have. Okay, let's make that could happen. So I'm interested to see if they move the needle. I don't think they are, but you just never know unless it's kind of a conditional pick or something like that, a later round pick. I just don't see nothing like the McCaffrey deal, which we're about to touch on now. Like the McCaffrey deal blew me away. And I'm a Christian McCaffrey. I like Christian McCaffrey. I like his game. I like versatile players. That's what he is. But he's been hurt the last 2 or 3 years. He hadn't finished the season. So for them to get the collateral that they got, and it's a lot of connections with the Stanford, Lynch, who's the GM, the head coach, Shanahan, and then, the McCaffrey, and he coached his dad coached him. All those things. They still gave up a lot. Well, what was it, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 next year or something? I thought that was way more than ever. But you're looking at his salary in 2023, he makes $12 million, 24, $12 million, 25, $12 million. That's going to look like a bargain if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, he's going to be effective in the run and pass game. That's only if. You only got to go with what's been the last 2 or 3 years, and that's no, he has not.
He played 3 games in 2020. He played 7 games in 2021. Now, he's played 6 games this year,
Right.
but he played 10 games in the 2 previous years combined. And you're right. When you say it was a haul, the Panthers got a 2nd rounder, a 3rd rounder, and a 4th rounder for 2023. And then just why not a 5th rounder in 2024? They got a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5
Man.
for Christian McCaffrey.
And I go, well, dang. And then people go, well, they gave up some of these picks were, coaches that left from GMs, Martin Mayhew and some other. I'm like, no, man, that's collateral. I don't care what you have extra. That's not enough. And then I looked at their draft. I'm like, no, they're missing there's some holes here. They're going all in right now.
Yep.
They wanted. They like, well, we were going to get rid of Jimmy G for Trey. And then now we got to get a running back. Guess what? That stays healthy. Well, you just picked up a running back that hasn't shown a history of being healthy, as good as he is. And when he's healthy, he is one of the better running backs. So then it dawned on me to think, what could the Titans get for Derrick Henry? I'm like, if he got this, or if a comparable is Kamara. Christian McCaffrey, and they're the same type of style players. And he misses games too.
Mm-hmm.
I go, man, but when he plays, yeah, he's special.
He's special when he plays, for sure.
So I go, man.
And Derrick Henry, a different cat, like you've always said. He can catch the ball, but he doesn't run routes. Like Kamara and McCaffrey, they run routes.
Yeah, they're the 5'11 guys who are a little more skilled in route running. Now Henry runs screens and dump downs, but running routes and affecting a passing game like that, I just don't think he's part of that. And it shows that's why they didn't give him the highest paid money when he was a free agent. He's effective, but not in a down the field way. So that's kind of why. So I still think his value is high, but I don't think somebody's going to give the Titans 3-4 picks for Derrick Henry. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and a 5th, you said, next year or something like that?
2, 3, 4 next year and a 5 the next year.
Good, man. That's
a 2, 3, 4, and 5 for that guy.
I'm trying to figure
That's
out
a whole draft for some teams.
Well, I'm trying to think what running back got that kind of collateral besides through history. I'm sure you know better than me. Besides Herschel Walker's and they gave up the whole freaking thing. No, Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams and Herschel Walker's the only 2 guys that come to mind. I'm sure there's some other ones, but I'm just trying to think off the top of my head because I was like, dang. And they're talking about the value of running backs is their value is going down and they're devalued. Well, that didn't show in this case. Not at all. So that was a little bit of surprise, and that kind of happened, in the middle of the night. Well, I was probably, 10:30 or so. The hitman hits it about that time. As far as going to bed. So I woke up and saw that, and I get up early. So I was like, what? Wow. They gave a farm. And he's going to be happy. And they're talking about he may dress and play in this game, and he's going to get there today. I'm sure his house is out that way, too.
Well, yeah.
Because he's from Cali.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised, and I know they're going to be excited. And he's playing for family in this instance right here.
Do you know what Eric Dickerson got traded for? I never looked this out.
Oh, that's I should have known Eric Dickerson when he went to the
That's the first
Colts.
guy that I thought of.
Oh, was it? Okay, when
he
went
left
to the
your
Colts.
hometown team.
Yeah. I know they gave up a first and a third, maybe. I don't remember.
Let's see. He was traded to the Colts, a 3-team deal. The Colts traded Cornelius Bennett.
Yeah.
To the Bills for their first-round pick, first and in 1 year, and first and second-round picks in another, and running back Greg Bell. The Colts traded Bell and 3 draft choices from Buffalo, plus their own first and second. This is a whole lot of moving parts.
Yeah, you losing
that went
right
for
now.
Dickerson. And when he got traded to the Raiders then after Indy, he went for a 4 and an 8, and there's not even an 8 anymore.
Well, but that's a different time. That's why I bring that up. That was the time when running backs was at the highest value.
At the highest value.
They never talked about, you get too much, wear and tear on your tires, they're going to wear down. They weren't saying that back then. And that was at the end of his career. Yeah, so this is now everybody know the game is different. This is a lot. So the only way to me that they feel like they got worth of the trade and they really skated through only paying him $12 million, he don't miss no game. And I'm talking about extended games, like he's out, 3, 4, 5, 6 games every season. If he only misses a game or two, sprained ankle or something like this here or there throughout, these next 3 seasons.
You feel
they
unbelievably
won.
great about
Yep,
that. They
you do.
smashed that trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Should the Titans make a trade? Should they try to get a more explosive receiver or some help on the O-line?
Man, I sure wish somebody was out
Another
there. But
pass rusher for this year?
oh, nobody's giving them no pass rusher.
Yeah.
Nobody's giving
Nobody?
They may give somebody give up a receiver though, but I just don't. It's
DJ
gotta be
Moore?
Got to be a younger guy.
Titans fans love DJ Moore, Blaine.
But if you're gonna pay him $20 million, I mean, you should have just kept AJ Brown. I mean, I don't know much about him. I haven't seen a lot about. I know he's a good player, but 20. Oh man, I just. I'm talking about maybe a young player that maybe is not getting a lot of playing time or not getting. He's not gonna get a lot of balls here either, but has that potential to be when he does touch the ball, he can change the game a little bit. And I don't know who that is. I mean, man, there's a whole bunch of those guys around the league that's probably unhappy. Well, shoot, they may get here and be unhappy because we don't throw enough.
Oh, Moore's unhappy with the Jets. I saw that Robert Sala, I think, said, but he's not even going to play this week, but they're not going to trade him.
Well, they can say one thing, but the management may be thinking totally different.
Like, hey, man, we saying that, but call us.
Yeah, right.
What you got? You got 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Right. Well, the coach could be believing in that, but then they were like, well, we're not playing them, so why don't we trade them? And the manager was like, well, hey, man, we can get what we drafted him and another pick. So, and he may, I don't know if he would even be happy here. I mean, a receiver is a tough call there because here it revolves around the king. So you may only get 5 touches a game, maybe. I mean, in this era of throwing the football. See, that's what I'm saying. This is not an attractive place even for a free agent because they go, I'm not even going to get balls and stats, so people going to be ripping me because I'm not being productive because my numbers are going to be low. Just imagine if you pay somebody $20 million. That's why they didn't do it with A.J. Brown, and he was injured. They go, well, I'm only going to get at most 5 targets a game.
Mm-hmm.
They go, what that's going to look like? 5 for, 55? They paying me $20 million? No, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. That's why I say go young, a draft guy who's kind of under the radar, who's not getting the playing time, but you liked him when he came out. He's in his 2nd or 3rd year, and maybe you can get somebody, and don't give up very much. That's the only way, and that's John Robinson's specialty.
Let's keep this discussion going next. BuckReising will make his weekly appearance that he makes some weeks with us, but he will be on this week. He travels. He's busy. But BuckReising will join us next. We can ask him about trade stuff and Titans and Colts and second half scoring and giving up chunk plays and all that stuff. We'll ask him everything next. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. BuckReising set to join us. It looked like he was on the line and then he just disappeared. And maybe he doesn't like us or he doesn't like Paul McCartney. I don't know. I can't get down with that. I love this song. You think Joe Hunk sniped him? Is Hunk in the studio? Yeah, okay. All right. All right, Lucas immediately dialed him back, so we're joined now by BuckReising. Buck, how in the world is this beautiful Friday treating you, my friend?
It's lovely. I'm actually outside in the backyard with the cats right now.
You and the cats just hanging out, huh? What do the cats think about a potential Titans trade? And also, do the cats think that the 49ers traded too much away for Christian McCaffrey?
And they said, meow.
I will consult with both of them as they sit here not paying attention to me and trying to catch bugs instead. But I will speak on their behalf and say that a potential Titans trade, I think that they seem comfortable with what they're doing. And I don't know how much the fact that they already gave up a fifth for Dennis Daly, who obviously has not proven to be a solution on the left side of that offensive line, comes into play. I don't know how much draft capital they're willing to give up, and it's certainly not going to be for a wide receiver when they just let one walk to Philadelphia. I mean, they got things for him, but, for all intents and purposes, A.J. Brown walked. The left side of the offensive line needs obvious help. And, we've got a couple of weeks until that happens, so maybe something more imminent will materialize in the coming days. But, right now it's been pretty quiet over there. As far as McCaffrey, yes, too much for McCaffrey.
All right, so we've heard that from your cats. So let's ask them, since they're answering questions here for BuckReising. Mike Vrabel kept alluding to this, although no one was asking. He, like 3 different times, he alluded to this. Or he didn't, as Coach Mack said, Mickey, he didn't allude, he said it. Some guys are going to play more and some guys are going to play less. Who are some of those candidates, do you think, for more or less play as they've scouted during the bye week?
I think LaRaven Clark is certainly a name to keep an eye on, the swing tackle that they brought in. As a free agent, he's played a lot, which the same can be said of Dennis Daly. But obviously, Indianapolis has spent the first 6 weeks shuffling their offensive line. Turns out they found a starting left tackle in none other than Dennis Kelly, which I'm sure gives plenty of Titans fans angst about that.
Obviously, the TV chat, Buck. Yeah, we had a lot of that yesterday.
The Undertaker has come out of
Yeah, Undertaker revenge game. And also, it helps that Matt Ryan got rid of the ball on average in 2.5 seconds for drop back, and he's dropping back 58 times. So, you can do a lot to protect an offensive line that way. And he wasn't sacked for the first time, I think, this season, which against the Jags, who have a decent defensive front, Blaine, I'm sure you watched this too. I didn't see them get much push at all throughout the course of that. And I thought that was most evident on third down for Indianapolis. Another one, obviously just by nature of guys returning, I would expect to see less Caleb Farley, not more Caleb Farley, given that Ugo Madi I didn't see him on the injury report unless we've gotten a recent update that includes him. So I think that would allow Roger McCreary to bump back outside. Ugo goes back in the slot as they await the return of Elijah Molden. So those two in particular.
There you go. Breaking it down with BuckReising, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, home of the non-commissioned salespeople.
This sounds unbelievable, Buck. Can you believe that the Colts are 1 win away from being in first place in the division? That doesn't even seem right to me.
Well, it's because they have the worst offense in football, Blaine. It doesn't seem right to anybody. But, that's honestly, I think speaks to what a lot of people saw from them prior to the season beginning when you saw a lot of people favoring the Colts as potentially dark horse or whatever you want to call them, kind of contender type. But if they can figure out the running game, which they haven't been able to do at all, no matter who's playing offensive line for them, even with Jonathan Taylor in the lineup, like they're capable. Certainly, that defense is nasty. I mean, DeForest Buckner, even without Shaq Leonard, they've been great. I talked to Coach Mack today about guys like E.J. Speed and Okereke. Well, that's not Okereke. Okereke. I think Okereke was the initial pronunciation on that. But I think that
yes.
I think that it is pretty surprising. But I mean, to watch them in these games, they certainly make life hell on the other team too. Like it's not necessarily a totally, it's not all offensive why they would be able to do more than they're currently doing. they've got some pieces and parts in there that make them a legitimate threat. And DeForest Buckner looks great. And obviously the Titans didn't see a healthy version of him when they played in Week 4.
If you were the coach, Buck, would you continue with this hurry-up style of offense at some point periodically, or maybe all the time, or how much ever they did it against the Colts? I'm just watching highlights and everything else, but what are your thoughts? Because that is a way to neutralize the pass rush, and the Titans crushed them in that. Only difference is they get both their running backs back, who are integral parts, Taylor being the main running back for them, and hadn't played since he played the Titans.
I mean, I can't sit here and act like I've got all the answers for Frank Reich, because I think Frank Reich is a good coach. Like I know Titans fans always make the joke that they love Reich and Ballard because all the Titans do, since those two have been in their jobs, is beat the Colts. So obviously that's not something they're looking to move on from with more competency. But I talked to Rick Venturi about this earlier today, and he said he almost feels like it's like they're almost married to giving Taylor a certain amount of touches anytime that he's available, and understandably so, right? He's obviously a stud when he's right, but it's almost like a reticence to move away from that when the situation in game dictates that may not be the best game plan. So honestly, I think if they want to play into what the Titans do well right now, which is certainly stop the run against this particular offensive line, I think that would be beneficial for the Titans, but that's a Frank Reich call. He's got to recognize it's incumbent upon him to recognize what it makes sense to do more of, how much further back to what they believe their identity to be do they need to get, or can they kind of mix and match and basically adjust on not adjust wholesale on a weekly basis, but do different things and not be married to the same thing week over week, because that's what last gave you success.
No doubt about it. We're with BuckReising from the BuckReising Show for 10 to 1 here on 104.5 The Zone. One more question here, real quick, I guess, and that is Vrabel after bye weeks. He has had so much success. Do you expect that to continue? And why do you think he's having so much success after a bye week?
I think that they're just not a dumb coaching staff. Like, I think they're an above average coaching staff. And I think that if you give them a nearly level playing field, and on top of that, give them more time against a divisional opponent who they already know, more often than not, they're going to find different things, whatever the quirks may be, that teams adjust from year to year that they can exploit. More time, only helps them. Now, I know you could push back if you wanted to be devil's advocate and say, well, his record in Week 1 games, for example, isn't all that great. And there have been some pretty lopsided results mixed in there. I don't think that's the same thing. Once you have film in season of an opponent, I think that's where they thrive.
There you have it. BuckReising from the BuckReising Show right here on 104.5 The Zone.
BuckReising special appearance from his cats as they enjoy a beautiful afternoon in the city of Nashville. So what's a bigger concern for you? Is it X plays that the defense gives up, or is it no plays that the Titans offense make in the second half?
Oh man, it's got to be the X plays, right? Like, because that's what's making it close at the end. Now, obviously, things happen, and offensive guys for your opposition, no matter who you're playing on a weekly basis, are going to have the ability to make a play from time to time. They're professional athletes; you can't stop everybody consistently all the time. But yeah, I mean, they can't have Caleb Farley, the optics even of Caleb Farley, with Diami Brown and running with him, and all of a sudden he just trips over himself and gives up a 75-yard touchdown. It's the longest play that franchise has had in almost 3 seasons.
Ugh.
So
to a guy who had like 2 career catches or whatever coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was his first NFL touchdown. And
okay.
See you, Caleb Farley. I'm going to take this one on your head. I think the X plays for sure, because that is what gets them into these close games, is they just all of a sudden these chunk plays start happening, and it's not, they do a good job to contain, because once they get in the red zone, they've been one of the best defenses in football. But like, I mean, it's just such a stressful way to exist. Like you have you have to let them get inside of 20 to just like feel that adrenaline in your veins, Mike, before you Jeffrey Simmons and Tier Tart drop back into coverage, and you got to make a play with your 2 defensive tackles. So bleep you, Carson Wentz. Like, I don't know. They do it an awful lot, so it seems that they're comfortable with it. Honestly, I think it gives a lot of people, aneurysms. And so certainly if you are invested in the success or failure of the team, it seems an unpleasant way to go about your Sundays.
Do you think this team can pass the mythical 7+ point in the second half of the game plateau this week, which they've not been able to do, right? They haven't scored at all in the fourth quarter. They've scored 7 twice, I guess, both in the third quarter. Can they get 8 points in the second half this week? Dare I say 9?
Oh, man. I mean, I just it stinks to do the analysis as they haven't been able to do it yet, so why should I give them the benefit of the doubt now? Especially against a defense that's pretty good. Now, the one thing that I'll say is that Indy doesn't get turnovers. They haven't been getting turnovers at a rate that you would expect a high-level defense to be able to do. Now, obviously that can change at any given point because football's weird and the ball bounces funny. So I think that's something to keep in mind. But as to the Titans' offense against them, man, I would bet the under.
Lord have mercy. BuckReising, our guest, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford every Friday on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, I guess tell us the type of impact with one player coming back, Hooker, and then another still missing. And I'm assuming Nate Davis will not play, and Reising continue his development at guard. And if I'm wrong on that, just let me know what you think.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to expect them to put, Reising wasn't horrendous. He wasn't the worst one out there. On Sunday when last they played against the Commanders a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, do you want your best offensive lineman out anytime you play Grover Stewart, who's really, really nice as an interior defensive lineman next to DeForest Buckner? And there's a couple of different guys that can cause you problems. For Indy, no, it's not great. And I think Nate, before this nagging foot thing, which, it's now taken a game and the bye, and he still can't play this week. So, I mean, my concern would be longer term with him. That is going to matter. Now, what defenses are doing, Blaine, I'm sure you've seen this on tape, is they're just loading up the left side and bothering the holy hell out of Dennis Daly and Aaron Brewer. So it's not necessarily been as much scrutiny on the right, but now defenses have the opportunity to try and exploit both, because Ben Jones and Nick Petit-Frere are fine offensive linemen, but when you continue to disrupt things up front, we know what kind of problems that can cause throughout the offense as a unit. Amani Hooker is obviously a big deal. He was making plays all over the place. I don't want to put unfair expectations on a dude coming back from concussion, because you want to be fair with that. But it sounds like they have been particularly aware of not just the injury to the player, which they always defer to, but I mean the conversations around guys going out and returning from concussions right now is not something you want to be on the lax side of. So we'll see what he's able to do out there. Respect to Andrew Adams, whose name everybody had to learn for 2 weeks, and see how many more times we have to do it again this season.
Robert Woods, will he continue to be the punt returner, or will Kyle Phillips get a second shot?
Oh, well, to hear Ackerman talk about it this week, I'm sure you guys caught a little bit of that.
Yes.
Ackerman, the special teams coach, he said that they're going to give Kyle Phillips more opportunities, or get him back to getting opportunities in the return game. Will that be necessarily for this game? I would think that a team that's ranked 20th in terms of average starting field position on drives would want to give themselves the best and safest opportunity to either improve upon that or to keep that consistent and not have, the looming specter of turnovers if the rookie muffs it again. I would probably favor Bobby Trees in that spot, but I mean, they can't give up on Kyle Phillips. They need an impact player in the return game, and whatever struggles he's had so far, he's still their best shot.
I guess lastly, I don't know how much you've talked about on your show. I'm sure you have. And did you have the mayor on or somebody? Yeah, talk about the stadium deal. Yeah, I guess give us your, the good things, the bad things, and everything else in between.
So I did have the mayor on, and people can go check out that interview on the podcast feed, where they can go listen to the Blaine and Mickey podcast and 3HL and everything else that the zone's pumping out. But the positives is that for local Nashville residents, there's not going to be an increased burden on tax. Now, the bad news is there's going to be an increase in state taxes because the state is giving the Titans money to contribute to this stadium, as opposed to outright funding it. I really liked Mayor Cooper's explanation of like what they want to do on the East Bank outside of like just the stadium itself. Because we do the sports things all the time. And new stadiums are cool and whatever. And I don't really care about WrestleMania. And yeah, if we get a Super Bowl, I'll go cover a Super Bowl. That'd be sick. But like just the continued growth of Nashville is such a cool thing to me, and their plans for the East Bank to kind of further that and really take it to the next level in the 66 acres that they would get back from the team, including the current Nissan Stadium site. Like that sounds, it's all theoretical at this point. But that sounds really unique to see, to continue to see that growth in Nashville. Now, the idea that they're going to get this thing done by August 26th, I think is nonsense. I think, I'm not saying that they're lying, but I mean, come on, you're out of your mind. That's less than 4 years at this point, and that's like fully operational by the 2026 preseason. I don't think there's any way possible that's conceivable, given that they haven't started officially yet.
Any ideas on what you want the stadium to look like, or concerns from your listeners about parking, or any other topic that maybe you didn't hit?
Well, the personal seat license situation,
PSLs,
obviously that's where a lot of people's first questions go to. Totally get that. Team has done a really good job laying out everything that they can right now about the credit that current PSL holders will get towards new PSLs, and you can go to the team's website for that. Yeah, parking is going to be a disaster. Parking is going to suck. It's going to be unpleasant for a long time while they figure this out, because they're literally building it in the available parking lots that Nissan Stadium has right now. And, Nissan's not like it's certainly not the hardest stadium to get in and out of compared to the other ones that I've been to across the league. But yeah, people who are already, it's going to be harder to get to a Titans game for a long time once they meaningfully start this. And I think that's something that, if you're doing a coin flip and you're saying, oh, do I want to sit on my couch and watch Red Zone and all the games, or do I want to go watch the Titans in 2025, maybe without Derrick Henry, go play the Jags? I don't know. That's kind of the risk that you run with these type of things. But it's a cool project, and I think as far as the stadium is concerned, Blaine, the only thing I care about is where we sit in the press box, and I know we're going to the nosebleeds with everybody else. So beyond that, they can do what they want with it.
Well, a lot of people are saying I was talking about Derrick Henry and Trey Turner. I was not referring to that. I was saying, what is he worth if McCaffrey got 4 or 5 picks? I mean, and he's kind of been injury prone.
Oh, yeah. Well, going back to that, yeah. I mean, Derrick's invaluable. Like, there is no because they don't have anything else. Like
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
You literally can't. You physically cannot move on from Derrick, because then what? Like, you got Jack. I mean, so not to completely derail the question, but yeah, there is no number of picks that you can put on Derrick Henry's value to the Titans right now, because they literally don't have another option.
Buck, we are out of options, man, and out of time, so we will catch up with you 9 a.m. Sunday morning ahead of the Titans game on the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. Can't wait. We'll just continue this discussion then. Bring the cats.
I hear it's going to be a beautiful day, so let's hope that Kirby Allen Kirby doesn't screw it up for all of us.
It'll be great. I just know it, Buck. We'll talk to you then.
Appreciate it.
Bye, boys.
Yes, sir. The one and only Buck Reising. When we come back, it's time to call your shot. You want to call your shot, jump on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, 615-737-1045, or in the Zone TV chat. Any of those places will get you. You can even tweet at Blaine and Mickey. Call your shot next. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Happy Friday to you. Absolutely beautiful outside. Go to a high school football game tonight. Go to a high school football game. This is unbeatable weather. There's Lucas Panzica, 2 weeks of high school football left before the playoffs start.
That's correct. It's week 10.
Jeez. So if your team doesn't make the playoffs, you have 2 opportunities left to see those young men and everybody in the band and the cheerleaders and the flag line and everybody who does everything to make Friday night special. So enjoy these Friday nights. Lucas, where are you in the cast of thousands tonight?
Off to off to CPA tonight as they host Lipscomb Academy. CPA coming off that massive upset win against Oakland a couple weeks ago. Lipscomb Academy still unbeaten under Trent Dilfer. Caleb Beasley, 4-star defensive back for the Mustangs. He is going to announce his commitment after the game tonight. So something to keep an eye on. We'll cover that as well in the postgame show. I will have postgame tonight, taking you home until 11 p.m.
Did you say he might be leaning towards a particular school that would make several people listening very happy?
I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you should certainly be listening.
Okay.
Now, he has offers from everywhere. He has interest from basically any Power 5 program you can name.
It's like a young Blaine Bishop is what you're saying.
Yes, like a young Blaine Bishop coming out of Cathedral.
100%.
I think he's a lot better than
a hat
that,
from
that's
every
for
school
sure.
on the table to choose from, just like a young Blaine Bishop.
That's what I did not have. But he definitely has that. I watched him. He is pretty good, though. I really like his skill set. He has perfect size. Perfect mindset. I'm real big on the mental aspect, and when I watch him, I've even seen him work out at some of his workouts. He's definitely the right guy. I think he's going to go to UT, and he's going to be he's going to be good instantly.
He hasn't announced yet. If you're an SEC fan, keep an eye on it. But there's no question Tennessee has heavy interest.
Time for Call Our Shot, brought to you by Chattanooga Whiskey 91, an award-winning small batch bourbon, and the only Tennessee high malt featuring tasting notes of toasted honey and graham cracker. It is a real winner, and it is available at your local retail store. Maybe you'll enjoy some responsibly, I don't know, tonight or this weekend. Lucas Panzica and I both called
the same shot?
A Tennessee win last week. Now, we didn't get the score correct 100%, but we did say the Vols would win.
Why do you act like I didn't say that?
You weren't here on Friday.
Oh, but I know I said that they were going to win.
You said
that
they
game.
were going to win 10 games. You've been all over the Tennessee bandwagon since all summer long. You and Kid Rock all summer long.
That I thought my last phrase was, I think they're going to get them.
Okay. Yeah. So let's say we all called it. So, I mean, undefeated for a week at Call Your Shot. We'll start with Lucas Panzica. How are you feeling about any particular obscure thing I'm sure that you have found to call your shot on this week? Or will it be something as out front again as, you know, a big game involving lots of local interest?
Let's keep it in the SEC. Huge game in the SEC, rivalry game in Baton Rouge, LSU hosting Ole Miss. Hey, Ole Miss is undefeated, the number 7 team in the country right now. Mm-hmm. They are the contender to top Alabama potentially for an SEC West title. A lot of eyes are going to be on that game in a couple of weeks. But Ole Miss ran the ball for 448 yards against Auburn. 448, all on the ground. They had 3 100-plus yard rushers. They're going up against LSU on Saturday on the road. It's a good front, LSU. But you know who has a very similar offense to Ole Miss? Stylistically, it's Tennessee. You know what Tennessee was able to do against LSU? Run the ball at will, well over 200 yards on the day. I think Ole Miss goes down to Baton Rouge. They win. They stay undefeated. They potentially climb the AP poll, and they continue to make that conversation in the SEC West very interesting.
All right. Well, cool. Well, mine is I'm piggybacking off of JillJelnick. I'm going to go Henry breaks the touchdown record. Becomes the all-time touchdown record holder for Oiler Titan history during Oiler Titan Alumni Weekend. Bam! I'm gonna drop my mic.
And that's 2. He's got to get 2
to break the record. He can 1 ties.
Yep. Boy, what?
Got to be here at home, man. Come on.
And it has to be in front of all the people who paved the way for, you know, guys like you and the people who paved the way for you before you, and wait till
the old heads
weekend.
See how big Henry is when they on the field. They go like, ooh, good. He played defense again.
These OGs looking at Derrick Henry have to be like that. No thanks, man.
Oh, that's a big guy. Don't want no parts of the king.
I think the hidden thing in this Titans-Colts game is going to be the ability of the Titans to run the football. The Colts actually scored on their last 5 drives against the Jags last week en route to winning that game. They scored a field goal and 4 touchdowns. They scored on all 3 drives in the second half. And it was a death by 1,000 paper cuts thing. As we've talked about all week, what did Buck say? Matt Ryan was getting rid of the ball in 2.7 seconds or whatever every time. The Jags ran for 243 against him. Titans can run the ball. They can control the clock. Derrick Henry can get his records. He had a really nice game against him, and he's ran for 100 yards in 5 of the last 6 games. I think this is a classic Derrick Henry game. You keep Matt Ryan in the offense off the field as long as Derrick Henry has it in his hands. I think the Titans win a close one. And they can't score more than 24 that I've seen this year, so I'll say 24-21 Titans. Yeah, tighten up.
I see you getting intense over there.
I'm sweating. It's hot in here. I'm on long sleeve.